This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our September North Haven Board of Selectmen meeting. I'm Mike Frieda, North Haven's first selectman, joined as always by our second selectman, Mr. William Piper, and our third selectwoman, Ms. Sally Buemi. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like to start by asking everyone to stand for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 2, any public comments to this evening's agenda?
Yes, I had just a couple of quick things. I had already talked to Val Goodkin about it, and it seems that item 8, we need to add the word to our resolution, which is item 8. We need to add the word annual in front of town meeting, and so when we read that resolution, we should do that, and the same with item 10. So I will, just to make it conform to our call, which is an annual town meeting, item 8 and 10 just say town meeting, so I'd like to make a motion to amend. We can amend, because this is a regular Board of Selectmen meeting, so we can amend the agenda. So I just wanted to make a motion to amend item 8 resolution and item 10 resolution to add the word annual in front of town meeting.
All right, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for bringing that forward.
Yeah, just to make it administratively tight.
Okay.
All right.
Item number 3, approval of the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting from August 1st, 2019.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. We'll dispense with item number 4, the Selectmen's overview tonight. We'll move right in to item number 5 and get into some of the resolutions. So I'm going to ask Sally and Bill to rotate and read these resolutions.
All right, I'll start with number 5. To consider and vote upon the following resolution for the disposal of surplus Department of Field Operations assets with govdeals.com. Resolved that the town of North Haven authorize the online auction of surplus Department of Field Operations assets with govdeals.com. All revenue received will return to the town of North Haven's general fund. The Director of Finance, Edward Swinkowski, is authorized to determine acceptable bid offers. The following assets will be auctioned. Do I have to read all these VIN numbers?
No.
I'll just read the proper. 1987 Ford F-82 recycling truck, and then a second 1987 Ford F-82 recycling truck, 2000 Peterbilt 320 refuge truck, 2006 GMC Sierra Hybrid 1500 pickup truck, 1987 Peterbilt 320 Camelvac All, a 2008 Ford Escape, and finally a 1995 OBD LCT 60 leaf machine. I will move the resolution as read.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Just in discussion, let me just say that these 7 vehicles, what we've done this before, and what we're finding is when we're ready to rotate vehicles out with high mileage, there is a high value that we get through the online auction process or a general auction process. So this will be a revenue item for the town, go into the general fund, and help us move forward with replacing the vehicles. So I also endorse this. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just had one quick comment. Yes. I certainly support the sale, but when I initially went through it, just one thought came to my mind that I wanted to share. Because I know we just purchased recycling trucks, do you see any value in keeping one of these 1987 ones as a backup in the event that one of them has a lot of trouble? Or did you consider
Yes.
the need for a backup? Are you satisfied that we're all set with that?
Based on the feedback from Public Works, we've talked about that, and this is their recommendation, so.
Okay, well, as long as we're not selling ourselves short, literally, then I thank you for that
Okay.
response.
All right, so we'll call for the motion on the floor, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. William, if you can do number 6.
To consider and vote upon the following Homeland Security authorizing resolution. Resolved that the Town of North Haven Board of Selectmen may enter into, with and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Service and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, any and all documents which it deems to be necessary or appropriate. And further resolve that Michael J. Frieda, as First Selectman of the Town of North Haven, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the Town of North Haven, and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents.
Okay, this is a procedural issue. 1 or 2 times a year, we have these situations and opportunities, and what this resolution does, it gives me the authority to sign off as the final signature on these documents. So,
I'll move that resolution.
I'll second as read.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Sally?
I'll do 7 and
Seven.
8. They
Okay.
go together?
Yes.
Well, we have to do 7 first, excuse me. Consider and recommend to, excuse me, consider and recommend to the annual town meeting for its approval, a new interlocal agreement between the Town of North Haven and the Greater New Haven Water Pollution Control Authority, covering how the town and the GNH WPCA respectively handle intermunicipal exchange of wastewater flows and related sewer infrastructure issues, including invoicing for same, and authorize the first selectman upon approval of the town meeting to execute said agreement.
All right, just a quick overview on this. This interlocal replaces the 1969 interlocal that we had with the town of Hamden, and that was before Hamden had gone to the Greater New Haven WPCA. The agreements that started in 1932 and then were updated in 1969 did not have a flow share agreement among the municipalities. And what we have discovered is that we have 6 commercial businesses from the city of New Haven coming in with their sewer lines into the North Haven Water Pollution Control Authority. But conversely, we have 170 residents in North Haven, in the Spring Glen, Weaver Circle area, whose sewer lines go into the New Haven WPCA. So I've always worked very well with the executives from the Greater New Haven WPCA, and what this is about is for us to comply with the regulatory aspects of water pollution control authorities. So with our 170 residents' homes going into New Haven, we have to work out a flow share agreement with the Greater New Haven WPCA to compensate North Haven for the businesses, the 6 commercial businesses that are entering our WPCA, but also compensate the City of New Haven WPCA for the 170 residents, Bill and Sally, whose sewer line connections go into New Haven. And what this represents is, when we look at the cost flow share, that it will cost the WPCA here in North Haven another $30,000 a year. However, for the 170 residents, it represents us fixing them at the current sewer usage fee here in North Haven, which is about $170 less than what it would be if they were charged with the New Haven rate. So there's an advantage for our residents where our interlocal agreement will compensate New Haven at North Haven's current sewer rates, not the New Haven sewer rate. And by the way, this has all been recommended to me to bring to the Board of Selectmen by our North Haven WPCA. Complies regulatory aspect-wise with DEEP. It allows the flow share agreement to compensate both municipalities, protects the residents in North Haven at North Haven's rates versus New Haven's rates, and it's something that needs to be done. So that's the overview.
You said it replaces the 1969 agreement with Hamden, but then you mentioned New Haven. Is it Hamden or New Haven, or is
With-
it just the greater,
Since
So-
as far as
1960,
the town?
since 1969, Hamden has regionalized and.
Okay,
they're
into that.
New
Oh,
Haven,
gotcha.
right.
Okay,
That's
then-
it.
It's on the second page of the resolution. If, looks like they took over I was going to mention that so it's the Greater New Haven,
Yes.
Right,
Greater
right.
New Haven, and I think
Right,
they took
okay.
over the Hamden
Okay.
wastewater system on the bottom of page 2, second paragraph from the bottom in 2005.
Right.
So, any quantitative data on the 6 business flow versus the 170?
Yes. It'll cost us $30,000 a year. to
Right,
do
but
the-
as far as, okay,
Oh, yeah,
so
that's a good
it's
question.
all based on,
So let me share that with you,
Yes.
okay? To answer that question, Bill. So the 6 commercial businesses deposit about 4.5 million gallons per day into North Haven. Conversely, the 170 residents, there's 12.5 million gallons.
Okay,
Going
right.
the other way. So that's why there's the discrepancy, so.
okay. I figured there was a justification for the money, I just was wondering.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
why.
All right.
Okay. So do we have a motion?
Well, I just read 7 to consider, which
Yes.
we've now considered and discussed, so
Read the
I can now
resolution.
read the resolution. Item 8, resolve to refer to the annual town meeting for its approval, a new interlocal agreement between the town of North Haven and the Greater New Haven Water Pollution Control Authority covering how the town and the GNHW PCA respectively handle intermunicipal exchange of wastewater flows and related sewer infrastructure issues, including invoicing for same, and authorize the first selectman, upon approval of the town meeting, to execute this agreement. I will move the resolution as read.
We have a motion, is there a second?
A second?
All right, motion second, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
Yeah, there's actually a map, so at the end, too. That shows where the businesses are. Next item is number 9, to consider and vote upon whether to refer to the annual town meeting for its approval, based upon the recommendation of the Board of Finance, that Section 32-9 of Article 5 of the Finances Ordinance at Chapter 32 of the ordinances of the Town of North Haven be amended. Specifically, the requested amendment is that contracts for the purchase of personal property or for services by the town or the Board of Education at a value in excess of $25,000 shall be let by sealed public bid by the first selectman or the Board of Education, as the case may be. Public bidding shall continue to not be required for the services of attorneys at law, certified public accountants, licensed engineers, architects, physicians, or dentists.
Okay, so this is sort of a recap of what we've been discussing on and off Board of Finance meetings, even though we had the ability, Ed and I, to, or I should say, the attorney recommended to us, we had a choice, either just move it to 25,000 or bring it to a town meeting. We decided to bring it to a town meeting, and that's what this is about. Let the public vote on it.
All right, well, this is an amendment to an ordinance, so I think it has to go to a town meeting
Well,
to amend an ordinance. And we had already done this a few months ago, and we had a town meeting, and the amendment passed by a 4-3 vote at a town meeting. And then the reason why we're doing it again, you're absolutely right. It's been discussed at a few Board of Finance meetings, because one citizen, Nancy Barrett, who's quite active at Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance meetings, brought to the attention of the Board of Finance a procedural issue, and so after a couple of months, I guess it was determined to revote at the Board of Finance, which they did in August, and so now we're having another town meeting. But I think we have to have a town meeting to amend an ordinance, and that's what we're really doing here. And, you know, I just want to say I appreciate the efforts of concerned citizens. We have a few that come regularly, and I'm sure I could speak for the rest of the board when I urge other citizens to come and participate. You know, I don't know, you must talk to a lot of people who have concerns, and you say, come to the meeting, all right, and then they never show. So I know if anyone out there who doesn't come to meetings and you have issues, you should come forward, because I really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
right.
And so, Mrs. Barrett came forward and brought the procedural issue before the Board of Finance, and so that's why we're redoing this. At the first town meeting where this was approved, with a very close 4-3 vote, I actually voted against it for two reasons. One, I thought it was too much of a jump from the 7,500 up to 25,000. And secondly, I was concerned that the Board of Ed's finance director wasn't at the town meeting to answer any questions, because this does, by its terms, not the Board of Finance, the Board of Ed finance director was not at the town meeting, and this does, by its terms, affect the Board of Ed. So I did have concerns about it when we voted on this at the first town meeting, and I was one of the three that voted against it. I am certainly, when we get to item 10, where we are voting to refer it to the annual town meeting, I will always, as you know, is always my custom to vote in favor of sending something to a town meeting, whether or not I support it. I have great confidence in the collective wisdom of the town meeting, and will always vote for any matter to go to the town meeting, whether I'm in favor of it or not. I still have my reservations, but, we could move forward with the resolution, because it's going to go to an annual
Yeah.
town meeting. And we'll see, maybe more people will be involved. Hopefully, the Board of Ed finance director will be there, because I think this increase from 7,500 to 25,000 affects a lot of Board of Ed purchases. And that's why I was very concerned that that person was not available for questions at the first town meeting. So those are my comments about it. And so if Bill wants to go forward with item 10, or he has any comments?
Thank you. No, I think, we've talked about this on quite a few occasions, both here and at the, when we all attended the Board of Finance, so. So I think you're exactly right, I think there'll be a chance to further probably discuss it at the town meeting.
Right.
All right,
So thank you. And as follow-up to Sally's comments and Mike and mine, excuse me, resolve to refer to the annual town meeting for its approval based upon the recommendation of the Board of Finance, excuse me, that Section 32-9 of Article 5 of the Finances Ordinance at Chapter 32 of the Ordinances of the Town of North Haven be amended. Specifically, the requested amendment is that contracts for the purchase of personal property or for services by the town or the Board of Education at a value in excess of $25,000 shall be let by sealed public bid by the first selectman or the Board of Education, as the case may be. Public bidding shall continue to not be required for the services of attorneys at law, certified public accountants, licensed engineers, architects, physicians, or dentists. So I'll move that resolution.
I'll second the resolution to refer to the annual town meeting.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, next item.
I can do 11 and 12.
Yes.
11 is to consider and vote upon whether to refer to the annual town meeting for its approval amendments to Section 184-14 and 184-15 of Article 6, abatement for volunteer firefighters of the taxation ordinance at Chapter 184 of the ordinances of the Town of North Haven, including an increase in the amounts of the available tax abatements to eligible volunteer firefighters based upon amended levels of responsiveness to fire calls and attendance at drills, and the extension of a tax abatement to retired volunteer firefighters who have completed 25 years of volunteer service in the town of North Haven.
All right, this is a byproduct of Public Act 19-36, a bill that was passed in the state of Connecticut. I believe our state representative, Dave Yacarino, was one of the ones that co-sponsored this. And what this is about here, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is another byproduct of a series of discussions that the fire chief and I have had with the volunteers, the captains, going back about 2.5 years. And the fire commission also endorses this. And this essentially allows us, in coordination or in concert with the Public Act 19-36, to expand the tax abatement for the volunteers from $1,000 a year to $1,500 in the next year to $2,000 in the subsequent year. So what does that mean? Well, with 31 North Haven residents who are volunteers right now, the current abatement is costing the town about $21,500 for all the volunteers. A wonderful value, if you will, to the great efforts that they do in supporting our fire chief, their captains, and also working with Deputy Chief Scott Martis, who's here today, who's responsible and done a great job in helping training the volunteers. So in the first year, the $21,500, by expanding it, the cost from the 31 volunteers at $1,000, an additional $500 in year one brings it up another $15,500 to approximately $36,000 a year. And then in the second year, which we're endorsing here also to go to a town meeting, it'll go to $52,800. And it caps out at $2,000 according to this Public Act 19-36. And we are looking to mirror this with the state statute now and reward the volunteers in an effort to retain the volunteers. That's what this is about.
Well, first, I have a few comments. First, I fully support expanding the abatement. It is, first of all, Public Act 19-36 is optional for municipalities. We're not required to do this, but we've heard many times that North Haven is having problems obtaining and maintaining volunteers, as well as other municipalities in the state and even around the country. And it just, so I don't know if you saw the local
Yes.
paper today, but there was an article about East Haven
Right.
doing the exact same thing that we're doing tonight, and I read that article with great interest. So I do support the expansion and the phase-in way that we're expanding the abatement. I was interested in the language here about amended levels of responsiveness, because it reminded me of the discussion we had back in June when we had the special meeting regarding the pension for the volunteers. And I had discussed, based on the chief's the fire chief's multiple statements during budget season, that one of the problems is, we have fewer volunteers and they're not showing up to fires. I mentioned maybe tying in the pension increase into some sort of level of responsiveness. And you said, I think at that time, that you thought that would be difficult to do, but it seems that we're doing that here.
Yeah.
And will there be details at the town meeting about
Yes.
what those levels will be?
Yes.
Okay.
Those levels are actually in accordance with an existing ordinance that we have. In fact, Val, we put this in the packets tonight?
Yeah.
It's in the packet.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I got my packet about
know.
1
Right.
minute before the meeting started. So I didn't,
If you can review that, and
Right.
it'll be detailed at the town meeting in terms of the levels that you're speaking about.
okay.
Our goal tonight is to get it to a town meeting and have the public.
Well,
vote on it.
as I said before, I will never step in the way of anything going to the town meeting. But I just was glad to see that. And then my other question, and again, it might be in the materials that were in the packet that I had absolutely no time to look at because it was handed to me right before we went on air. As far as extending it to the retired volunteers, I'm also in favor of that, but will there be some sort of level of responsiveness tied into that as well?
For the existing pension, you mean, or?
No. I was just, no, we're done with the pension. I was just using that as an example, that we have a level, the pension issue does not have a level of responsiveness
right,
in this.
right, okay,
I was just
right.
pointing out that distinction because I had discussed it in
Right.
June. Just talking about the abatement, you said that it's going to be based upon amended levels of responsiveness. And we are also extending it to retired volunteer firefighters who have completed 25 years. Is that the only requirement, or is there also levels of responsiveness tied in to even those retired.
Would you like to take just a quick look
Yeah,
at this? Go ahead. Take
okay.
a quick look. That's in the packet, so.
All right, so,
You read through, they'll give you a few minutes, read through that, okay? So,
I think it's on the second page.
second page, right?
okay,
Under C,
again,
Sally.
did you get this before
No,
tonight?
while you were, I had the benefit listening to you and
Okay.
finding it in my packet so I could look at it while I was listening at the same time.
I didn't
It's just
get it.
finalized, right? But
Yeah.
It's just finalized.
So I
and
just
Okay,
had it-
so
I was reading it while
that's-
I was listening at the same
So
time.
my apologies, folks, but it's
Take a
hard
minute.
for me to be prepared when I don't get stuff in advance. So hold on a second. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's fine. We'll be discussing this in detail
Yes.
for the residents at the town meeting. It was just a question I had, and again, without the benefit of this information that I'm seeing right now at first blush, I
Okay.
didn't know that.
You got that in that packet?
Yeah, okay, I'll give that back.
All right.
And again, I think for a retired one, if I read this correctly, it's only for a 5-year period
Right.
at the lowest level
Right,
during the last 3 years, so
Right.
it's not forever.
right.
Once you're
I got
retired.
you. So that's why I said that all that information will be provided at the town meeting. I just wondered if there was some restriction on that, and now you've answered with that document.
Okay.
Okay, but again, I'm fully supportive of this. They certainly deserve it, and I think it's the policy behind the act, which is to attract more more volunteers, is a good one. And again, I just read the one section that you showed me there, Bill. Is there anything in there about some of our younger firefighters who might not own property? Would it apply to the car tax?
Those details are gonna be outlined at the town meeting.
Okay.
So while we wait for
Because a
that-
lot of
Yes.
our volunteers are younger. They
Yeah.
might not necessarily own property, but they might live in
The-
town and have cars.
The answer is yes,
Okay, so-
But you'll hear
Because
more
I'm
about
hope
it.
that they won't lose out on the benefit, that's
Right.
what I'm saying.
Right.
We want all of them to benefit from this. So that was the other question I had. And I think, in fact, in East Haven, if the, did you read this whole article from the East?
Yes.
They talked about motor vehicles, and if the abatement is more than their tax, they actually get a check for the difference. So I don't know if we'll be doing that. Again, that's something we'll hear more about.
We have a question on that as it relates to the statute itself, but that's their.
Okay,
their
that's
issue,
there, I
so,
just,
okay.
I had that question in my mind, I read the agenda yesterday and had that question when I read it, and then by a miracle, this
Yeah.
article was in the paper. I'm like, wow. It was covering a lot of the questions that I had based on the agenda.
And it does include motor vehicle.
It does include motor
Any personal
vehicle.
property,
Okay.
including motor
Okay.
vehicles.
All right. So we'll get more details for the citizens at the annual town
Yes.
meeting on this, but I certainly support an abatement. Maybe we should, most of our citizens are used to exemptions. There's, elderly exemption, there's veterans exemption for a lot of folks. Maybe we should explain the difference between an exemption and an abatement, just to make it clear what we're doing here. Would you want to explain, or you want me to?
Well, I'm not sure if we need to. I mean, we can. We'll do that certainly at the town meeting.
Okay.
Our goal here is just to get this to a town
Right,
meeting for a
but-
public vote.
But this is actually a better, a better deal than an exemption. An exemption just reduces the amount of the value of your property that the mill rate is addressed to.
This
So
is a direct.
this is a direct reduction in
correct.
tax obligation. So, $1,000 is whereas $1,000 abatement means $1,000 off of your tax obligation, whereas $1,000 exemption only reduces your tax obligation by $31.
And 18
And
cents.
18 cents,
Right.
right, very good. So
And
that's
the other word, I think that actually probably makes more sense for everybody. It's right and used in the proposed ordinance here is credit, you know.
yes,
So
right.
So it actually is, you know.
But there was an
true credit.
article in the paper, one of the local papers about this, and it referred to it as an exemption. That's why I
It's
says,
really a
uh-oh.
it's really
you know,
a credit.
There was a mistake in one of the local papers that referred to it as a tax exemption, and it is not. It is a better deal for our volunteer firefighters, and they deserve the better deal. So that's why I brought up the distinction between abatement and exemption, because there was an error in the paper today. So I think I was reading this, so should I just move to number 12 unless somebody else wants to comment?
Let's move to number 12.
Okay. I'll make a motion, resolved to refer to the annual town meeting for its approval, amendments to sections 184-14 and 184-15 of Article 6, abatement for volunteer firefighters of the taxation ordinance at Chapter 184 of the ordinances of the town of North Haven, including an increase in the amounts of the available tax abatements to eligible volunteer firefighters based upon amended levels of responsiveness to fire calls and attendance at drills, and the extension of a tax abatement to retired volunteer firefighters who have completed 25 years of volunteer service in the town of North Haven.
Okay.
I moved that.
Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second?
There's a second.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to express my, not concerns, but my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item 13, William.
It was good, and it was a good explanation, I think, for people who are watching on TV.
And
So that
hopefully
they-
it'll inspire them to attend the town meeting. We'll see.
And item number 13, which I think is actually a rehash of all the ones we've already read. So I will begin with 13 as a call for the annual town meeting to be held Monday, September 23rd, 2019, in the auditorium of North Haven High School, 221 Elm Street, North Haven, Connecticut, at 7 p.m. to consider and act upon the following. A, to consider and act upon a resolution in accordance with the recommendation of the Board of Finance to adjust appropriations of certain line items among the various departments in the fiscal year 2018 to 2019 budget, transferring amounts over $20,000 in the total sum of $663,124.88. B, to consider and act upon a resolution for the approval of a new interlocal agreement between the town of North Haven and the Greater New Haven Water Pollution Control Authority, covering how the town and the GNHWPCA, which is the Greater New Haven Water Pollution Control Authority, respectively handle intermunicipal exchange of wastewater flows and related sewer infrastructure issues, including invoicing for same, and authorize the first selectman, upon approval of the town meeting, to execute said agreement. C, to consider and act upon a resolution in accordance with the recommendation of the Board of Finance that Section 32-9 of Article 5 of the Finance Ordinance at Chapter 32 of the Ordinances of the Town of North Haven be amended. Specifically, the requested amendment is that contracts for the purpose of personal property or for services by the town or the Board of Education at a value in excess of $25,000 shall be let by sealed public bid by the first selectman or the Board of Education, as the case may be. Public bidding shall continue to not be required for the services of attorneys at law, certified public accountants, licensed engineers, architects, physicians, or dentists. And then D, to consider and vote upon whether to adopt amendments to sections 184-14 and 184-15 of Article 6, abatement for volunteer firefighters of the taxation ordinance at Chapter 184 of the ordinances of the Town of North Haven, including an increase in the amounts of the available tax abatements to eligible volunteer firefighters based upon amended levels of responsiveness to fire calls and attendance at drills, and the extension of a tax abatement to retired volunteer firefighters who've completed 25 years of volunteer service in the town of North Haven. The proposed amendments are on file and available for inspection in the office of the town clerk.
All right, can we have a motion to accept item number 13, inclusive of A, B, C, and D?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Item 14, Sally.
Yes, we have resignations / appointments. First, we have the resignation of Bernard Pellegrino, 10 Marble Road, North Haven, Connecticut, from the Water Pollution Control Authority, effective August 26th, 2019, term to expire December 31st, 2019.
This is a man, ladies and gentlemen, that has served over 20 years on this WPCA, or approximately 20 years, and we will miss him, but we thank you, Bernie Pellegrino, for all of your efforts on this WPCA. Thank you very much. Okay?
We have to,
Motion.
I'll move to accept the resignation.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
I'll make a motion for the reappointment of Michael Parisi, 10 Victor Road, North Haven, Connecticut, to the Cable TV Advisory Council for a 2-year term to expire June 30th, 2021, as dictated by the council's bylaws.
This young man's 24 years old and has asked a couple of years ago to try to get involved with government, which we think is great, having anyone who's interested in getting involved with government. So very happy to see that he's willing to continue this. Michael, thank you for your past service, and we look forward to continuing with you on this particular board and council.
Yeah, I remember him being here the first
Yes.
time we appointed him. He was a fine young man. So I moved it.
I'll second it. I'll
Motion.
second his reappointment.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next one, please.
I will move the reappointment of Alden Mead, 200 Rimmon Road, North Haven, Connecticut, to the Cable TV Advisory Council for a 2-year term to expire June 30th, 2021, as dictated by the council's bylaws.
I'd like to thank Alden Mead. He not only has served faithfully on this council at a time when we really needed someone with his acumen on this council. We thank him for that. Also, Alden, I'd like to thank you for your service on our police commission. You've done an outstanding job, and we're truly grateful for your efforts. So thank you for agreeing, Alden, to be reappointed.
I'll second that, his reappointment.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And finally, I'll move for the appointment of Stephen M. Miller, 5 Round Hill Road, North Haven, Connecticut, from an alternate to a full member of the Inland Wetlands Commission to fill the unexpired term of Mark Trojanowski, expiring on December 31st, 2019.
I presented a citation to Mr. Trojanowski, 30 years on this particular Wetlands Commission. And by the way, I also presented a citation to Mr. Pellegrino for his service. So Mr. Trojanowski and his wife are downsizing. They're moving right over the line into Northford, so that precipitated his resignation. And Stephen Miller, the alternate, steps up. So thank you, Stephen, for willing to step up.
Well, 30 years, that's
Yes.
a very detailed commission. They work very hard,
Yes.
so well deserving of that citation. Thank you for issuing it.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I'll second.
And a second.
His appointment.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so next, property tax refunds.
And after looking at the list, which is a little bit longer than usual, but all the amounts are, again, relatively small. I'll make a motion to actually, for these property tax refunds to be done.
Second?
All right, any other discussion? There's a motion and a second. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Item 16, ladies and gentlemen, is an identification that the next Board of Selectmen meeting is Thursday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. here at North Haven Memorial Town Hall. Item 17, public comment. Mr. Criscolo.
Thank you very much, William, Sally. Always a pleasure to be here.
My name is Peter Criscola, I'm the fire commissioner. Michael, you wanted an update, we talked about it last month about the vest and the helmets. Okay, they are paid for in full, they are ordered, the chief ordered them. The biggest problem is the delay in getting them. We're back ordered. I guess some of the people, I'm sorry to say, the naysayers, we didn't need them, they shouldn't be buying them. What are we gonna do with them? Well, obviously the nation thinks that we need them because we can't get them.
So the back order and the delay is based on other agencies?
Other agencies, they can't produce enough. Do you believe that? So that chief that retired from New York and then went to Connecticut and retired also, as he said 40 years ago, that was unheard of that a firefighter would need one. Today, it's part of their everyday turnout gear. And it goes to show you that we've paid for them a month ago, $25,000. We still can't get them, they're back ordered because other agencies are buying them all over the state. Not as many in our county, they don't have the money, they can't raise the money. So we're again, North Haven's on the cutting edge again, which is a great thing. So we will have them approximately 3 to 5 weeks, so they tell us. And then our apparatus will be outfitted with them.
Thank you for the check, by the way. The way it works, ladies and gentlemen, is the money that this man has raised goes into a general fund, gets made payable to the town of North Haven treasurer, and then we have an identification based on the initiatives of the fire commission, the fire department, where to apply the dollars. So that $25,000 is still there, waiting to be spent. So I didn't realize there was that delay on that,
There's
though.
not much of a delay, Michael, I'm
Wow.
sorry to say. And we ordered them when we were here the last meeting. We showed them proof of funds.
Yes.
And they told us we'd have them, and now they're telling us that unfortunately we have to wait.
Okay.
But we will get them in 3 to 5 weeks, thank God. Our firefighters will have them. And the other reason why I'm up here tonight, Michael, about 3-4 weeks ago, I started and I embarked on another journey down the road to raise more money. We need approximately $18,000 to $19,000 for another Lucas Heart Save machine. We have two. One I was able to purchase through my dear friend Tariq, who purchased one, I believe, about 3 years ago. That was $19,000. And this life-save machine, we've used it numerous times, countless times, sometimes twice, 3 times in a day. And we have two already. We have one on the rescue, and we have one on ladder one, and we're looking to buy a third one. So I'm using this forum to ask the good people of North Haven, again, my friends, I know they're tired of hearing from me $105,000 later, but we need more money. We need another $18,000, $19,000. And I have the deputy here that we'd like to show you what it actually does.
Okay.
So we brought one in,
All right.
and we hope the people in town will be generous again and help us raise some money. I know it's a lot, but it's for a life-saving machine. And again, I know that some people say that this should come out of the taxpayers' money, out of taxpayer funds. Well, there's not enough taxpayer money to go around to the entire town for every single thing that we actually need. These are not wants, these are needs. These are something that we have to have. It saves lives, like I said. From the first day that we purchased it, we've been saving lives ever since. It gives us the opportunity to put on a mechanical device that actually, even a firefighter is able to place that on over his gear, under his tank. And Chief Martis is putting it on.
So essentially, obviously, this person's already had a really bad day because they have no arms and no legs.
They're starting out pretty bad.
But it allows, it's a very quick access for 2 firefighters to either grab the patient on their shoulders, or what's more usual is to just grab them by their clothing and lift straight up. The patient is obviously completely unconscious, they're in cardiac arrest. The patient will lift up, this curved board slides under the patient. That's the extent of needing 2 firefighters. Once that board's placed, now the second firefighter could move off to start setting up paramedic equipment and so forth for other interventions. The big claw-like device wraps around the patient, locks into place, the cup, and I see that there's that camera up there. Is very large, power on the device, press the device down into position, and then press play. The benefits of the machine, obviously, paramedic setup for cardiac arrest is extensive. There's plenty of medications that need to be measured and drawn, advanced airway management and so forth, intravenous lines to be placed. But the big, so that's a side effect of being able to free up all the personnel. The big thing is an average adult will lose about 50% of their efficiency in chest compressions within 2 to 4 minutes. So the chest compression, even you, Mike, with all your workouts, the chest compression you're delivering when the code first starts, 4 minutes in,
You're all done.
you're going to be exhausted. It's very trying. So the nice thing about this, it doesn't get tired, it doesn't fatigue. It's the perfect, at least 2-inch deep, 100 to 120 compressions a minute until 45 minutes into the event when the battery goes down. In which case we have a backup battery, and we have the ability to plug it into the wall on scene. So, like you actually approved, I believe, the purchase for the first one immediately after we had a town official cardiac arrest in the cause of their duties. If you
Yes.
remember, under Chief Lindisio.
Yes.
And Commissioner Criscola got us the second one, which we put on the tower because there's only 2 personnel on that. And now this would be a third one if we get it.
We're gonna get it through.
So this is amazing seeing this in action like this. And I remember that tragedy like it was yesterday when we actually bought one. So Peter, now the 103,000 you've raised includes that the other one that was already purchased, right?
103,000 does include the one that Tariq bought for medical
Yes,
arrangements.
right.
That was 19,000 at the time.
19,000, right?
And he bought it solely with his own funds.
Yes.
He did not take anybody else's funds into that purchase. It was strictly purchased by him, as he also did with the Jaws of Life. This is a remarkable machine. These Velcros are for the patient's arms, so they're out of the way, they're not flopping. And it's just an amazing device.
Yeah, seeing it
And
in
again,
action.
the firefighter, God forbid a firefighter goes down, we don't have to take off his bunker gear, strip him. We just slide this under his tank, and we're all set to go, right through the clothing. So that's, it's a very thick, heavy jacket that he has. This is, like I said, it's remarkable, and I know that some people think it should come out of the budget automatically. But we can't have everything out of the budget. I wish we could, but we have some people the taxpayers that are up to the limit, especially the elderly, and we can't just keep taxing them to buy things that we need. So we try to fundraise, and it's a good thing. The people of North Haven, both residents, business people, and some are both, have been very generous, as you can see, $105,000 later. Now, I already have 2 checks in our possession. We have one check from Washington Memorial from John. We have another check from Jim from the New England Fire Apparatus around the corner. We have a second promissory check from John also from Washington. And we have 3 other people that have promised us a check after next month.
So this is over and above the $103,000.
Right, right. I don't like to count money that we don't have yet.
Right.
But we do have 1,600 already. We have 1,000 plus 6. We have another $400 check coming in. That'll be 2. And we have, I said, another 3 promises. So we'll probably have $5,000-6,000 in the next 60 to 80 days.
Towards the third apparatus, yeah.
And we hoping that we could have it by the first of the year. So the reason why I brought it up tonight, I'm hoping that people that are watching this, instead of just making my phone calls tomorrow and starting again, they don't have to hear me on the phone. They will just send a check, and they could send a check, like you said, made out to the town of North Haven / fire department, and they can send it right to the finance department or the fire department, and it will go towards the purchase of this life-saving machine. And you can see what it does. It's just incredible, and it saved so many lives in the last 5 years.
I think it's a remarkable effort on your part, what you've done. And I have to say that I deal with many of the businesses here in North Haven. And in the last couple of months, I'm working on projects with some of the people that you've raised money from. And they've all commended your efforts. And it wasn't like that, this isn't like, well, we feel obligated to do it. For however the way you're presenting it to these businesses, it's resonating with them, reinvesting back in the fire department. And one business told me this last week over lunch, as we're expanding with this business in town.
Well, I don't know a business, but I will speak of one business that just gave us $12,500 for the vest, which is Town Fair Tires. And Mr. Mellon was very happy to invest. He thinks it's a great town. And again, we go back and again, some people don't like this term. It's a great team. It's not a single person. It's not Pete Criscola trying to get $19,000 for this. It's a team. The chief is here with me tonight. The Board of Selectmen is here listening.
Chief, once the money's raised for the third one, is 3 the number where we should be at, in your opinion?
It's kind of, ideally, you'd like one on every career apparatus that's responded to medicals, so 4 would probably be our most ideal number at this stage, but the crucial thing with this, similar to the second one going on the tower, with the call volume increasing and engine 1 and rescue 1 being tied up, the chances of one of those vehicles being by themselves was better suited on the tower with just 2 personnel and no advanced life support equipment. This one is going to go, the third one will probably go down south because the rescue will still back up that paramedic engine asset that we're going to place on Montauk Avenue. It will still back them up at that interim time to get from headquarters down there for a cardiac arrest. It's going to be pretty vital for the paramedics on scene to be able to put this on. So, but ideally it would be 4, and 1 for every medical response asset.
Now, once we have the 4th piece of apparatus on the paid side, then we'll be able to put 1 on each one. But like the chief just said, not to reiterate, we'll need 1 down south. It's a long drive from headquarters
Down.
to somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
So this will be very, very essential.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your efforts.
What's
Bill, Sally,
what's
any
the
comments?
actual name of the machine again, or the
It's
device?
The Lucas device.
Lucas device?
It's on that, you can see the green.
Yeah, I saw the Lucas, but I wasn't sure what the rest of it was.
I really don't know.
Looks like Lucas 2.
Lucas too.
I'm sorry?
Yeah,
Says it looks like Lucas
2. Yeah,
2.
the Lucas one was actually air powered, so it was designed for fire rescue, so that it actually ran off of the air bottles. But if you can imagine the logistics of that, the fire department had to go in with the air bottle and the Lucas and the oxygen in it. So they were able to Physio Control, which is also a big manufacturer of cardiac monitors, has mastered lithium batteries. They were able to put really good batteries on
I
it.
think, is the new one the 3, the Model 3, or the?
I'm not exactly
I
sure.
think it's a little different. It's not much. It's just a little different. Sally, it has probably a little different configuration, but this will all be the same, obviously.
Yeah. And that's the way it's packaged, like that, in that case.
It's pretty good. It comes in here, it's got the little backpack straps so the personnel can throw it on their back and carry it.
And we ordered
It's heavy.
the extra battery, so we have a backup just in case one should, you never know, quit. And we also have the AC power that if we had to, we could just plug it in. And all our devices, everything that we have is state of the art. All the way back to the battery operated jaws of life. We have a 30-minute cut time that's just as strong with the battery as it is with the hydraulics. We have a secondary battery in case that fails, and we have a 110 cord that we could plug in our jaws of life and run forever off the 110 power. But these are expensive items. The cord, just the electrical cord for the jaws of life is $750.
Wow.
One extension
One
cord.
extension cord.
People think you're buying for $15 at Home Depot, $750 for a cord bill.
Well, I thank you.
Life.
I thank you for your efforts. Chief, about 4 weeks ago, actually, I was at an event in New Haven, at a major event in the city that I was invited to. And I had a firefighter come up to me from a neighboring municipality, acknowledge your efforts, and said, you acknowledge your efforts. You know what he said? No, they're twice the size of us. We don't have anything like this equipment that's being raised in our town, and they're twice the size of us.
Yeah, I had the drone out because I try to fly, obviously when we fly the drone, we're flying the drone, trying to rescue people, search for people, so I try to put flight hours a couple days a week. And I had it out, and I had a New Haven fire lieutenant pop in for a meeting. He was borrowing a textbook from me, and as soon as he walked in, he's like, "We don't have a drone in New Haven," and they were admiring the drone. So
Chief John Alston told me that.
Yeah,
He told me, Chief Alston told
I
me
was the chief,
that.
I was the chief the other day.
Yep.
And they have a drone that's about this big.
shut this off, sync that back.
It's about this big.
Yes, so their drone is from what I heard today, is actually operated by a member of the department
It's-
that brings his own drone to
it's-
work because it's functional.
It's that small, and they have to use their cell phone for their viewing device that clips onto the top. And they have, talk about twice the size, they actually have 10 times our department. They have 380 firefighters.
Oh, in the city of New Haven, you mean? This was another neighboring
Yeah,
municipality.
yeah,
That was another, I didn't want to mention the name,
I
but
know.
yeah. But,
I know, they
yes,
called me the other day, they both did.
Yeah.
Both neighboring towns called the other day
yeah.
and asked if we could do something. I said, no.
Bill, Sally, any questions at all?
You've trained all the firefighters on how to use it,
Yes.
so, which is good news. So everybody knows
Good
how to
part
use
is,
it.
it's, the good part about this machine, you do not have to be a paramedic to know how to use it.
Looks like it's pretty simple, just based on your demonstration.
Everyone just saw it now.
Right.
Sally, you can come up and try it, if you like. It just clips on and just unclips. It's just, it's a simple device to use.
Is there any age, on the bottom side, any age limit where you can't use it? Like somebody is
So the only
10 or 15 years old,
That's a great question. Actually, the only contraindications or limitations to the device is if it won't fit. So the plunger only goes down so far. And so if the patient is too small or too skinny for the plunger to be able to make it all the way down and then give us a good 2 inches, you can't use it. And if they're too obese, too wide in that midsection where the device can't clip around them, which we have yet, I don't believe, we may have had 1 or 2 instances in the last several years where the device didn't work. It's pretty fun.
because of some physical limitations
Yeah,
or age
because That's
limitations.
really the only limitation, is if they don't fit in the device, then we can't use the device. So
Yeah.
a child that's too small or an
Or
adult
too
that's too
large.
big.
Because we did have this on a firefighter just to check with his bunker gear on. So it does accommodate a large person.
And I think the other thing you should know too for everybody is that, I think you've mentioned a lot of the businesses in North Haven have been very generous, but, not everybody has the ability to contribute at that level. So even a check for $5 or $10 would be appreciated because they add up.
Any check that any resident or business person wants to send in, we will be happy and gratefully accepting of it. There's no limit either way. They can go as high as they want, they can go as low. Like you said, a $5 check would be fine.
I mean, because they add
We'll
up
take-
if,
We'll take anything. I do not have a committee, I am not doing this with a committee. Everybody has their own things to do. This is just something that I have embarked on a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, and it just seemed to work out well. Speaking to the firefighters, speaking to the chief, they kind of give you a wish list, and you pick out the best on the wish list that year.
So we need to get Town of North Haven to have a GoFundMe account. Which, if you notice that girl that was injured in the shooting, I think they raised like $77,000 for in one day. So, I think it makes it, that makes it very easy if there's maybe something not to consider for this necessarily, but down the road is a way for these types of projects that people want to contribute to that I think are very, very meaningful to everybody's, and this is something that all of us may at some time need, so giving him $5 or $10, I think is something that you're contributing to something that may save your life,
As a senior, I want it. Trust me.
Oh, thank you.
This is one of the most amazing advancements in our pre-hospital realm that I've seen in my 25 years. I mean, it's impressive. It's impressive. Does a lot of good.
Thank God we have it. Thank God, again, we have the great people of North Haven, both residents and business people, that have helped us in the last 4 years with everything that we have. Right now, we're at the fair, and we have our all-terrain vehicle is there.
It's at the fair?
It's
Is
at
it?
the fair.
Yeah.
It's equipped with all
Hmm.
the medical and rescue devices on it, oxygen, everything, in case someone gets hurt, falls down, heart attack, God forbid, a bee sting, whatever. It's totally equipped. Our firefighters are there. We have both volunteers there and career firefighters. So, again, the town is always on the cutting edge.
Well, thank you very much for all of your efforts.
Thank you for allowing us to come on. This is probably the hardest part.
This is the hardest part.
Taking it out is the hardest part.
On the inside, is that like a summary of how it's used?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that is, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I asked for the training, you want to be reading the instructions
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
before, at the, when you don't, when at the last moment, when you actually have to use it.
So I mean, I think that and obviously this is totally my op-ed, but I think where they're going with this is much like when the AEDs came out when I started as an EMT, and you had to have a special certification as an EMT, to a special class in addition to EMT to use an AED, and now they're on every wall and every building and, everywhere. I kind of think that as the technology gets a little bit cheaper, we see this coming because, it's well documented that the number one thing that somebody can do if somebody goes into cardiac arrest is stop what they're doing and start doing chest compressions. Like even bad chest compressions is better than no chest compressions. And that's just time and time again, after every 5-year update, that's what we get. This delivers perfect chest compressions. So if you could put this on somebody within 2 minutes of a cardiac arrest, their survivability rates would be through the roof. So,
It's a great point.
so I think that's what they're going for with the pictures.
No, we have the AED machine.
To put it in the right part of your
Yeah.
chest, I
Yeah.
mean, so that you get,
Correct.
a good compression in the right spot.
When I was in New Haven with John DeStefano,
Home is so big.
during his time, I was talking to someone at the Board of Ed, and they were talking about that they didn't have them. And it was a problem in their sports fields and stuff. So I thought about it, and I went to the vendors in New Haven, and I went to see my dear friend Norman Bender Plummer, wonderful gentleman. And he assisted me on it. I was able to buy 20.
Wow.
And I sent them to every school, to every gym, and we purchased them right down the street here. In Steve Longobardi's building, in the basement was the distributor for those heart saving machines.
Oh, the AED.
Yeah, I can't think of the name.
Oh, once local business survival group sells.
Survival
Yeah,
group.
survival group, yeah.
And I was able to purchase 20. And after I purchased them and I gave them all out, I raised the money I purchased, gave them all out, I said, gee, you know what? I have to buy one. So I bought one when my grandsons were little. And I bought one and kept it by the pool in case, God forbid, a problem. But it works out well. And I want to thank the Board of Selectmen for having me here tonight. And I want to thank again the people from North Haven. I got it, take one. I'm not that old. I can carry it.
Thank you for the demonstration.
Thanks, that was
Thank you
great,
very
great
much.
demonstration,
Good night,
thanks.
thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Good, how are you?
Good.
We didn't have this when we were.
Take care of this next time, right?
Alrighty, yes.
It'll be the follow-up to the EMT. Good evening, Nancy Barrett. I just have a quick question regarding agenda item number 10 this evening. Again, to remind everyone, this is the threshold for the project values for public bidding. So now that this Board of Selectmen has voted on this resolution to amend our town's financial ordinance now for the second time, I have a three-part question that I'd like to ask each and every one of the three members of the Board of Selectmen. So the first question, and we can just do this first, second, third. Are you aware of any Connecticut legislation, meaning Connecticut statutes, that cap or in any way regulate the threshold for the municipal bidding process? And two, at what point did you become aware of this state legislation relative to the two votes on this resolution? And then lastly, what is your source of information that has provided you with this?
Well, I'm not aware of any state statute on this. I know that in my association with the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, every municipality has a different bid threshold, so I'm not aware of any state statute, no.
So nothing.
Not that I'm aware of. I don't
Okay.
know. So,
Right. So I'm just surprised because I would imagine that before we have to amend one of our sources of legislation, meaning a financial ordinance, that our town's attorneys would have to research any Connecticut compliance associated with a change in our legislation, just to make sure that we're not in any way in conflict with a state statute or something, that
yeah, I
might
don't see
be-
it that way, but
No.
I'm sorry.
So
I don't
you're
see
not
it
aware,
that way.
okay. And how about you, Bill? Are you aware of anything?
No,
or-
not that I don't remember that coming up previously.
Okay, it was brought up, and the reason I'm asking, Mike, you missed this I think it was at the May Board of
Right.
Finance meeting, because you weren't able to attend, that this issue was brought up, and I believe Mr. Swinkowski said that he wasn't sure about a state cap, and I believe both the chairman of the Board of Finance, Mr. Monaco, and the vice chair, Mr. Doney, said that they were not aware of any legislation. So I just thought I would ask this board if you were aware of any
I'm not
that
aware.
might impact.
And actually, when Joe Stenofani was here, who deals with dozens and dozens of municipalities, when he was here back earlier in the year, he didn't mention anything about a cap on a state statute, so.
Okay.
So the answer is no, we're not aware.
Okay, how about you, Sally?
Yeah,
Are you aware?
There is one. It's, I do remember the May meeting, and I think your recollection is correct. I don't remember Mr. Swinkowski commenting on it, but I do specifically remember Mr. Monaco and Mr. Doheny. But there is a statute,
Yeah, I happen to have it. so-
148V, I
Right,
think.
I have it.
Right,
so-
well, when this was originally proposed last spring,
Mm-hmm.
when I first saw it on the agenda, I did my own legal research on it, and
I'm not
that's how
surprised.
I did, how I found the ordinance, and it does, 7-148V does cap the threshold at 25,000.
Yes.
Which was not really the main problem that I had, as I said in my earlier comments tonight when we were talking about it. I wasn't as concerned with it reaching the maximum threshold as I was the rather significant jump from 7,500 to 25,000. But there is a cap. Perhaps I could bring it to Mr. Monaco. I could make a copy
So
of the
we're-
statute.
we're-
But we're at the cap.
We're at the
yeah.
cap.
Yeah.
So it's just purely a coincidence, as far
Right.
as you know.
As far as I know, yeah.
That the proposed increase exactly equals the state's limit.
Right.
Yeah, I think that if you remember these meetings we've had, Joe Stenofani said roughly 20,000. Ed recommended the Board of Finance 25.
Right.
There was no mention of any state statute, so perhaps it is a coincidence, but I'm glad to hear we're at the cap. That's good
Yeah.
news.
Well, again, one can only assume that the reason that our state legislators would establish a cap is that in their wisdom, they recognize that this is a potential for abuse, and that it requires a cap so that there is no opportunity for anyone to abuse their position of discretion for any projects that are below the cap. So, again, I think any day where you learn something new is a great day. So now we've all learned something new. I certainly didn't know about this, but I researched it, as Sally did, and did find out that there's a Connecticut General Statute 7-148V, and it specifically establishes this threshold.
Well,
So,
usually when, I did read the annotations when I did my research, and I saw the legislative history, and usually when you see a cap in a statute like that, it's part of the legislative history includes, a concern about, a cap is put in for a reason.
For a reason,
I
right.
agree
It's-
with you.
right.
I would have to, you'd have to go to the records of the debates of a statute to actually verify that. But historically, from researching so many statutes throughout my 35-year legal career, I could say pretty confidently that when a legislature puts some type of cap on a statute like that. It's because they have concerns. So I agree with you there. So,
Okay.
thank you.
So that's my primary issue.
Okay.
One other quick comment that I had based upon the demonstration that was just given is I would just like to suggest that perhaps the Fire Commission and this Board of Selectmen might suggest it as well, that equipment such as the one that was just demonstrated today could be obtained via a grant. And that, again, I think any and all possibilities for funding to provide us with equipment such as this mechanical CPR, basically is what it is, I think would be an attractive alternative that does not put additional burden on either the taxpayers or our business owners. I'm not in any way saying that that's not a valuable piece of equipment, but I just think that fundraising certainly is an additional, burden on our already stretched thin taxpayers and local community. Everyone's been very, very generous. But again, I think that if we could explore grants, whether they be state or federal grants, that might be
Well,
another way
I
road
think
to go.
what you're perhaps missing is that we do that every day. And not only the fire chief does
Mm-hmm.
it every day, Lynn Sadowski does it for us every day. And I'm directly involved with our 3rd Congressional District Office looking at grants on public safety at least 5 times a year.
Okay.
So the good news here is that, and I deal with a lot of these businesses, they're delighted to contribute.
I'm sure.
Delighted.
I'm
because
sure they
in
are.
effect, it gives them even greater recognition. Because what we want here in North Haven is like what we're doing with Amazon. We're connecting them into a community. And when we see things like sponsorships on the green for the concerts, and we have a sponsors night where everybody gets a plaque, these businesses love it. Because the whole core mission of businesses is to provide valuable services and to contribute to their respective communities.
I agree.
So I would
agree
disagree with your
completely.
point of view on that part of it.
Well, again, I'm not saying for community events, but for a particular piece of equipment such as this, just in the same way that they've applied for a FEMA grant for a new fire truck.
But if there's no
Right.
grant on that, then...
I don't know. I don't know whether
Well,
there's
if it-
any possibility for a grant
Well,
that
like I
might
just
cover
said, we're
this.
constantly looking at grants, and we've had a great deal of success on getting grants. We
Good,
just got one for the
good.
Historical Society.
That's wonderful.
So we're not going to diminish the fact that the businesses like contributing to this town.
No, I'm not in any way
think she's saying
separating
No, I
that
think
out.
that's what I'm getting here, so, so...
So
if
let me
there-
reiterate, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, if there is a specific piece of equipment that might fall under public safety, perhaps we should be pursuing
We
more
are,
grants.
that's my point.
More grants.
We are, we have been, and we will continue to do so.
Rather than our fire commissioners starting with fundraising.
But if the grants aren't out there, then would you endorse a fire commissioner doing what he's doing?
What I'm saying is perhaps the fire commissioners should be pursuing the grants as well.
Well,
That's all.
there's no need for the fire commissioner to pursue the grants, because the fire department and the town of North Haven are pursuing the grants. And if the grants aren't out there, like the Jaws of Life that Mr. Criscola mentioned earlier, then he went out and got edible arrangements to fund it, $17,500, of which, and Tarek's a good friend of mine, he
Yes.
was delighted to do it.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm
So-
glad to hear that.
And so it's I mean, I've brought this up at Board of Finance meetings, some years on the Board of Finance, that there are a lot of time, I mean, I'm still working, you're still working. I think, Sally still has, a very active practice. We have donor clubs for the high school, I mean, and for educational things, for colleges. So, I mean, and I give to a variety of charities, and I'm gonna give to this, because why shouldn't you consider your town, I mean, based on, it's really here to provide services, to help people. It's really here not to make a profit.
I'm a member
So I
of
think it's a
the
great
Friends of
idea
North
to-
Haven
if somebody can give
Library
5 or
and
10 or-
lots of different communities are.
Because I have the means, or you have the means,
Yes.
it's actually a good idea, because, we've heard on the other side, gee, we can't keep raising taxes on people, which is true, because some people can't pay.
Right.
But there are some people who could give $25 or $50, and, because we give to other charities and other other worthy causes, you know? And you see that all the time with, as I mentioned about GoFundMe pages, where, there are a lot of generous people out there, that
Absolutely.
recognize that there's a need, and that's what these businesses have been doing. They've
Right.
recognized a need
And
and
everyone
are
is
helping it.
contributing to those GoFundMe pages and to their churches and to their schools.
So if you
and to all
can't
of
do
these
it,
different things.
don't, but on the other hand,
I understood.
even,
Understood.
that's
So
why I
we-
wanted to make the point about a small contribution, because, these businesses have given something that's beyond maybe all of our
Absolutely.
means individually,
Absolutely.
but, if the business wants to be that generous, it's great, but as we all know, like, from the charities that I've participated on and fundraised for, sometimes a lot of small contributions go a long way,
Absolutely true.
and
So we are pursuing the grants. We have been for years here. We will continue to do so, and we've been very successful in getting grants. And we've also discovered there aren't grants out there for some of the things that we wish there were, so.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Right, well, I don't think Mrs. Barrett was in any way condemning any type of charitable contribution. She would never do that. But she asked about grants, and you've answered
Yeah.
that they're being pursued. And it's always good to pursue as many sources of funds for needed equipment, and I think that was her main point, but.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we're good then. Any other comments? All right, Val, do we have some things to sign before we do? All
I
right, so
signed mine.
I will ask for a motion to adjourn, and then we'll do the signatures that are needed. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Before I move to
Yes.
adjourn, I just want to remind people the North Haven Fair is going
yeah,
on this
we're gonna-
weekend,
we're
so.
gonna do that again.
We
Try to
were
head
there.
over there.
We were there earlier, Sally
Yeah.
and I. We kicked it off. Sally was with me and was there with Dave Iaconino.
Great opening ceremony, yes.
And I was delighted to see the line of people waiting to get in. So we had a good opening ceremony. We had Post 76 there, American Legion, Landcraft Drum and Fife, and a wonderful rendition of the national anthem by that wonderful young lady,
Yeah.
Kayla, right?
Yeah, I didn't win anything.
All right.
I know, I write about my family, we're all crazy about the fair and entering stuff. I struck out again. But
Ladies and gentlemen,
go to
the
the fair.
77th year of the North Haven
Yes.
Fair. Please attend this weekend. I agree.
Thank you. And
Okay.
with that said,
Motion to
and go
adjourn.
to the fair, please, it's so much fun. I will make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Val will take the signatures, okay?
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.